Right. No?
Public.
I don't know if he's still out of town or not.
Oh.
Huh?
Yeah.
That don't even make sense.
No. I'll explain that in a
Well,
minute.
that's the question there last.
I know you were, that's the reason I said that.
Alright, we will reconvene. Ready? Alright, we will reconvene our special meeting. It began on November 22nd. And so, let's see. We'll go ahead and do the pledge if you guys don't mind. Sure. Stand for the pledge, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Alright. Mr. Weir is not here. Mr. Somerville?
Here.
Mr. Bush?
Here.
Mrs. James, I'm here. Mr. Dreer?
Here.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Alright. Alright, we are reconvening today for the town of Dana and their request for their water department. Just to kind of give an update, I think there was a little bit of confusion. I fielded some questions about our additional appropriation of the $703,000. We did advertise that amount because it was suggested to fund the whole project. By an advertisement doesn't necessarily mean that's a commitment. Anytime we have additional appropriation, we advertise it in the newspaper. We have to have 10 days in order to advertise that. Due to our time constraint is why we advertise that additional appropriation ahead of an actual getting a plan from the commissioners. Anytime an additional appropriation is advertised, you can spend up to that amount. So if we would only advertise, say, $100,000, our maximum amount of funding could have been $100,000. So that's why we chose the higher end of the amount. That doesn't necessarily mean that was a commitment, and we can spend zero all the way to the $703,000 because that is what was legally advertised. So I wanted to clear that up. I think there was some confusion at the commissioners meeting that we had agreed to the $703,000, which is not the case. The additional is only for advertising purposes. So I just want to make sure everyone understood that.
Did the commissioners, they actually vote in, what, 300,000?
They did. They had a 2-1 vote, and they agreed to plan for $300,000. The administrators of the ARP funds are actually the commissioners. We are the fiscal body with it. The administrators are tasked with the force of coming up with the plan, and then we have to help execute it as a financial side. So with their approval of the $300,000, that is essentially their plan. The ARP does require that they say plan, but in this case, we do have a joint meeting after this session to discuss usages for the ARP money. We kind of done it a little backwards, unfortunately, due to some time constraints and the holidays happening. So hopefully at that meeting we can maybe get some clarity on future plans.
Sounds to me like there was confusion in the commissioners meeting, because I know one person spoke about it being a loan, trying to figure out how many years it's going to take to get our money back. In reality, it's not a loan. I mean, we're forwarding that money to them if we vote that in.
This is not a loan. This is just spending it and not basically a gift per se.
I'm not sure what they're talking about the loan that they were getting. I think they're getting a loan as well. I think
Because he never alluded to that, I don't know.
I could be wrong.
So I'm not sure on that, but I knew this particular appropriation is not a loan.
I guess I still have questions, but Neil had a question. I don't know if it ever got answered or not about the money being given to the county and not incorporated towns or anything. Did anyone get an answer on that from the state? I mean,
No.
I took Neil's question to be something different, but as far as Scott and I know, other counties have done this as well, that the county can give it to the municipally owned utility in this case. I took Neil's question to be a little bit different, whether or not you can give it to a privately owned water company. Maybe I misunderstood what he was saying at the time, but as far as we know, this is acceptable. I mean, that's about, it being so new, that's about the best answer we could.
Yeah.
Brenda said she did forward it on to Baker Tilly. They are doing our paperwork side of it. with the reports and the filing, but they haven't replied yet, so, which it is Monday morning, so, after a holiday.
So it's kinda like we're getting a cart before the horse in a way. We're gonna have a meeting afterwards to discuss what we're planning, our plan is with this money.
Yes, unfortunately, it is kind of backwards. Yeah, I mean, they've asked for a joint meeting at 10:30 to discuss planning the ARP money.
They gotta have an answer by what, tomorrow? The 30th?
Yeah.
So, that's why we're here.
As a reminder, it does take 4 votes for a quorum, even though there's 5 of us? Technically 3 is a majority today, but for legal purposes, there are 7 members of the council, so it requires 4 votes at any time. Neil has recently moved, and so his district changed, even though it was 3 houses away. So he is not eligible to vote. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Anything that they need answered? Just as a follow-up question, we'd asked before about the $120,000 of your ARP money. Were you able to find out if that could be matched as well?
I have asked them, and they were meeting this morning. They're gonna let me know today, so
Okay.
we're hopeful that they're gonna make that match also. And that we'll get $120,000 additionally from the Red Towns contribution from the ARP money.
I was hoping, because I thought if they're going to match our ARP money, I hope they match your ARP money as well.
We're gonna find out today.
Okay, thank you.
Another cog in the wheel, they're not gonna get the money.
Anyone have any recommendations?
I think we ought to go ahead and approve the 300,000.
Is that a motion?
Is that a motion?
Uh-huh.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Is there a second? Do I have a second? All right, with no second, the motion dies. Is there any other recommendation for a different amount? Okay. Well, without a motion and a second, we cannot vote on the action. So, unfortunately, the funding cannot be approved.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
With the meeting that we have going on next,
Mm-hmm.
I've talked to some of the other water companies in the county. Is this a water issue thing that you don't think ARP funds should be used for as a council? Or am I wasting my time there, or is it just a one-on-one thing? Because I've got a couple asks when I go to joint meetings, you know, after this, and if it's not something that the council's gonna entertain using that funding for, I don't wanna waste my time.
I mean, I don't know. I personally don't know. I mean, we haven't, unfortunately, that's part of the problem, I think, is no one has been able to, like, talk about it as a group of how to spend it. I don't know if anybody else has comments or
No.
anything.
I think when they sit up here, I was for the to help them, because the people are on fixed income, that's just a small county, or town, we need to get it, going, but we're just rushing through this matter, and we got the cart before the horse. We're gonna meet at 10:30 to decide how we're gonna do this money. If they would come back later, and I know they don't have time to do that now, but it's just like we're rushing through it. I'm just not comfortable with that.
Can it be revoted at the next meeting?
Pardon?
Can it be revoted at the next meeting if it's brought up? that
I
it's
think
something
these
that should
folks
be
said they
voted?
needed the money today, or,
Well, but I mean, at the 10:30 meeting, is that something that's, has
I would say no.
No?
the notice has been put out that
Right.
they could conceivably be?
I mean, in theory, though, the reality is the commissioners have already decided they're willing to spend the money. And this $300,000 would just be put into the plan as going for water to Dana, the plan that we ultimately make. So I know it's kind of putting the cart before the horse in terms of, we don't have a plan yet, but I guess they passed, I would assume they passed it with the assumption that it would just be put into the plan that way. So I don't see that as a big deal, but, I mean, that's up to y'all.
If you get out and ask the people, they all say to me that they think it's much more important to take care of these small towns' water than it is to get broadband to a few people. Another option for internet.
you're probably white, so respect there, but broadband is a real important issue for the county to try and move it forward. I mean, all the companies are not coming, not saying they will come, but you gotta have something to offer, and that broadband is very important to a lot of the
Water's pretty
manufacturers.
important to people too.
I understand, and I talked to people in Cape or in Newport,
Water.
and a couple people, and one person said they were paying like $200 is ridiculous, I mean, for having to pay for sewer and water here in this town, but I never went right directly to the water company to find out they were paying that. I'm just going on what an individual told me, and I don't know how people in Dana could afford that, person, or anywhere in the community. I mean,
None of these small towns can afford this.
But as far as the funding goes, I mean, at this point, with what we know that George is looking for a matching, there's still enough for both projects to be done unless there's other major projects out there that you guys are looking at.
And that's kind of the question of the day, is what
Right.
projects are out there.
But I mean, when it comes to water and broadband, they both can be
Right. and
absorbed into these funds.
I know we had talked about before funding different, like, not just one project, but hoping to do more than one thing with it. But until we meet with the commissioners, we really don't know what their thinking is on all of it either.
what all can it be used for?
As far as we know at the current moment, what I know is water, stormwater, and broadband.
Three different.
COVID-related losses.
COVID, yes,
COVID
COVID.
deficit, so
Okay.
like,
Yes.
and we don't have to spend it till 2026.
Okay.
So
2026.
if next year we find a deficit in the lit tax and then other income.
Which will probably happen.
We can funnel it in
Potentially.
as the deficit.
Okay, I had a couple questions. saw his hand first, sorry.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to mention that, and I mentioned this to the commissioners also, that the infrastructure bill has already been passed, and the infrastructure bill is $1.2 trillion, and that has money that's coming in, and this is the amount that's coming to Indiana. And part of that money is specifically targeted towards broadband, targeted towards future water projects, and targeted towards bridge repair. So that's 1.2, and let's say how much is coming in and being allocated towards those items and coming directly to Indiana. So, Dana can't participate in this 1.2 that's coming in, but they can participate in what's already in the American Rescue Plan if we would vote to allow them to do that.
Have you seen where any of that, like, the ARP money ended up coming down, like, to the counties and towns? Have you seen where they have a plan for that? Because from the little bit I've read, it said they didn't really know how that was going to go, so I didn't know if you might have any insight.
I wish I did, I don't. Some of it is gonna be designated where you have to apply for it at the federal level. Some of it's coming directly into the state, whether the state's going to distribute that, or it's coming to the counties, I don't know yet.
Okay.
I don't know if it's been decided.
Okay, I was just hoping for somebody had some more knowledge than I could find. Thank you.
Thank you.
John, did you have a question?
Well, I just wanted to make an observation from a normal person's point of view. You've got an opportunity to invest $300,000 and double your money, which if you were sitting in a casino, that would be a great thing. you're taking care of a town with, what, 400 some odd people, 500
600 maybe.
some odd people. To me, I understand what you're saying, Randy. It might look like it's selfish, but in a way, if you look at the entire picture, is it selfish to take care of a town of 400 people that are truly in need of something that they can help them achieve? That's all I mean, I understand, don't get me wrong, and I appreciate the fact that you guys are looking out for the whole county. But this is a unique situation, and they've got the opportunity to get a match, and that opportunity is gonna fall by the wayside, I'm sure.
So did that opportunity just arise just in the last month?
Make it hard.
Yes.
It did?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. We were here as soon as we knew that if you guys won't give us the money, that we would get a match grant from
I appreciate
SRA.
that.
Matter of fact, I made plans and switched some things around at work so I could be here to specifically be in front of the
And
county
you did a
council.
great job presenting your deal that day too. I might add that.
Thank you. I was a bit nervous. I've never asked anybody for $500,000.
We're all sitting up here nervous today.
And the commissioners already voted for $300,000.
I'm not nervous personally. I think it's a no-brainer. Because of the match, mainly.
Is there any other comments? Oh, I have to have a new motion if there's a, can we do the same amount though? Can you do it twice? Yeah? Okay.
Okay, we'll try again then. I'll make a motion to approve the 300,000 to the Dana Water Project.
Okay, I have a motion. Is there a second?
I will second it.
Alright, I have a motion for $300,000 funding from the ARP for the Data Water Project. I have a motion and a second. Motion by Mr. Somerville, a second by Mr. Brent Bush. Is there any further discussion? Alright, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Somerville? Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Mr. Dreer?
No.
Mr. Brown?
No.
Okay. Without having 4 votes, the 300,000 will now pass. All right. Any further discussion before we adjourn the meeting? All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Do I have a second to adjourn? All right. Our meeting's adjourned. Thank you.